Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly J Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this heart pendant. I've used a drilled heart, but the design is for an undrilled heart, so if yours doesn't have a hole going through it, don't worry. This design will fit. I've put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make this pendant. Also, there are links to my Facebook page and my Etsy shop. I've also added links to affiliate links of all the tools that I use, so if you're interested in buying tools or having a look at the tools that I use, then just follow all the links. To make this pendant you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut two lengths at 11 inches, that's 28 centimetres. You'll need 0.315mm wire, that's 28 gauge, and you'll need about 150 centimetres. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. If you don't have a bobbin you can just cut lengths as you go. But these are brilliant, these are, you can just wind all your wire on there and it stops your wire flailing about everywhere. I've put a link in the description below for the bobbins and for all the tools, so if you're thinking about buying one of these little bobbins or any of the tools that I use, the links are in the description below. You'll need a little heart stone. Now this design is for an undrilled heart stone. Mine is drilled, so I'm going to add a little bead, a little dangly bead at the bottom. So you can do this with an undrilled stone. If yours is drilled and you want to add a little bead as well, you'll need an extra little bit of wire. This is just 4 inches, which is 10 centimetres, and you'll need a few little beads. I've got an 8mm bead and I've got two 3mm beads just to make the little addition at the bottom later on. So don't worry if yours isn't drilled, you can leave that out. Tools, you'll need pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters, and you don't need nylon pliers, but if you've got them, great. I love these, so I always use these. My pliers are, I've got xuron tweezer nose pliers, round nose, and my wire cutters are all Tronex, and these are Beadsmith nylon pliers, and all the links are in the description below if you want to check out those tools. Size, you could use a paintbrush or a crochet hook just to wrap the bail over when we get to that part. So for the extra, for the little bead I'm going to hang off the bottom of the stone, I'm just going to cut the end of this wire flush. I'm going to bend the end over. This is just to stop it slipping. I'll pop that through the bead, and that'll sit at the top and it won't fall through. We won't see that when we've added all the wire in a bit. And then at the bottom we just need to put another loop on the bottom so we can add the bead. So I'm going to wrap that around the pliers just to make a little loop. I'll cut that. Actually, I might just bend that a little bit first. And then I can add my bead to that at the end, so it's got something to hang off. Then we'll carry on with the pattern as normal. So starting in the middle of the wires, holding them together, we're going to bend a loop. Keeping the wires sat next to each other, and then holding them firmly going to bend them up. So we've got this shape. So now we're going to weave across all 4 wires. I want them to sit a little bit closer than that. So I'm just going to pull them together a bit, like that. And we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire to attach our weaving wire. Sorting the wires out at the top. So now we go around the bottom 2 wires, up between the bottom 2 wires, over the 3rd wire, up between the 2nd and the 3rd wire, straight over the top, and then we'll go around the top wire, and we come up between the 2nd and 3rd and go around the 3rd wire. We come up between the 1st and 2nd and go around the 2nd wire, and we come under the bottom wire and around the bottom wire. So that's our repeat. So we're going to keep repeating that along these wires, and I do want them to sit closer together at the base. We need them wider apart at the edges, so that makes the weaving a little bit easier. So we'll do that repeat again with you so you can see it again. Go around the bottom 2, up between the bottom 2, over the 3rd, so we're going around the next 2, up between the 2nd and the 3rd, straight over the top, up and go around the top wire. So we come up between the top 2 wires and around the top wire, up between the middle 2 wires and around the 3rd wire. Come up between the bottom 2 wires, go around the 2nd wire, under the bottom and around the bottom wire. And we'll keep repeating that weave. So I've repeated that weave, and you do have to keep pushing it together as you go. Keep compressing it together. Cut that tail end. So I've done about 1 inch of weave, 2.5 centimetres. Save counting all the repeats. Take your crochet hook or paintbrush or bale pliers if you have them, and we're just going to bend this. So this loop is going at the back of the stone and our wires are coming over the front. And we're just going to bend that straight over to the front like that. So you need this gap here to be about the width of your stone. So if your stone's really thick, you'll need a big gap. The loop sits at the back, at the top of the stone, and this comes straight over to the front like this. You need to secure this top part in place so it doesn't move later. So making sure that you've woven enough that it sits at the top of the stone there. I'm going to go around the entire thing a few times to keep it in place at this point. So I've gone all the way around the back to the front, and I'll put it underneath the weave, and I'll go around again, so we're just locking it in place at this point. So now we're going to continue weaving across these wires. So I'm going to remove the stone for now. So we've got a few wires around the side showing where the stone is going to be. And I'm going to wrap around the bottom one a few times just to hold that wire in place. So we need to shape the wires a little bit. I want 2 wires going one way and 2 wires going the other. And I want a nice scoop on the middle too, because that's going to have our main weave. And then the outer 2 will follow those wires. So once you're happy with your shape, we'll go up between the bottom 2 wires to get ourselves into position. Oh, I can't do that because I've gone around the bottom wire. So we'll go over and around the second wire. So now we're in place to start weaving across the middle wires. So we'll wrap a few more times around that second wire. So we've gone 3 times around the second wire. We go over the third wire and go a few times around that wire. Over the second wire, and then we go 3 times around that wire. So that's our repeat. But as we're doing this across these middle 2 wires, every now and then we need to include the outer wires. So at this point I'm going to go around both wires twice, and then once around that second wire. So the 3 wraps have been replaced by 2 wraps around both and 1 around the single wire. And I'll do the same on the other side. So we'll go around the 2 wires twice, and then just around that second wire once. And we'll keep doing that. So now we go over the second wire, wrap around that 3 times, over the second wire, wrap around that 3 times, so I've done a few more repeats on that weave. I've repeated the weave just across the middle wires, and then every now and then I've wrapped around the outer ones just to keep them in place as you go. Put my stone back into position, and you can see the weave comes just to the bottom there. I'm going to keep going a little bit further until the line, the middle of the weave, reaches more towards the bottom of the stone there. So I've added a few more repeats, and you can see the weave is now flush with the bottom of the stone. You have to pull the stone right up into place, and you have to keep compressing your weave together as well as you go. Keep pushing the weaves together to keep it tidy. So I'm just going to add a few more wraps around that second wire just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to cut that wire. So making sure that the stone is definitely in place and against that weaving wire now, I'm going to take these wires and bend them straight over the bottom of the stone there. So what we need to do now is secure these wires to the loop at the back there. So we'll cut them about this distance just so it's a bit easier to work with. We can use one of those scraps in a bit for the bead if you do have a hole through your stone. It's a lot tidier if we can put our wires underneath the loop rather than over it. You can go over it if you want to, but if we can put it underneath, it will sit a lot tidier. So making sure those wires are pulled quite firmly. I'll do the same for the other side. I'm just lifting the loop away from the stone a little to pop the wires underneath. Then you need to squeeze the loop back down. Make sure it's all in position how you want it to sit. I'm going to use round nose pliers and scoop them around and bend them back under the bottom there. So I'm pulling on the wires, but I'm bending them more towards the tips to encourage the ends to go back around the wires like that. Where they protrude, I can cut them back a little bit. But that is the basis of the design finished. We just need to add our little bead at the bottom. Stone has a hole, and you added this little bit of wire at the beginning to dangle a bead from. I'm now going to wrap the bead, so take a scrap of wire. I've got the other half of the 4-inch piece that was cut at the beginning. Just going to cut the end off so it's nice and flush. I'm going to bend the tip around. And then I'm going to straighten the end. We've got this shape. And then I'm going to use a 3mm bead, 8mm bead. This is a grey moonstone I've got here. And then another 3mm bead. Using your round nose pliers, I'm going to bend the top around. Like so. Straighten tighten it up a bit. And then I'm going to take the wire around the bead, carry on going around the body of the big bead, and then take it around the little bead on the bottom. I'm going to need some pliers to close that. So I only just had enough wire there, so you'll want a little longer length than what I used. But that's my bead. I can dangle off the bottom of the pendant. So there we have it finished. I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. Quite a basic one for you today, something a bit different. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video. Bye.